All right. Thank you. Thank you. We're live, ladies and gentlemen. We are live on the Lawyer Henderson podcast show. Go ahead and hit that thumbs up button. Hit that thumbs up button. Like, share, and subscribe. Family, like, share, and subscribe. Um, we're not going to be taking no calls. The website and we get our phone system is down. Doing a routine maintenance, of course. So we'll be back, hopefully back up Sunday with our phone system. But you can go to the chat and also leave your comments there. Like, share, subscribe. Talk black to me. Talk black to me. Go to the chat and subscribe, family. Today we're going to be talking about Malcolm X, his daughters, and along with Ben Crump, they held a press conference regarding a letter that was left by a man who was on his deathbed back in 2020. He died, and of course, he left this letter to the family. And the letter basically states that the NYPD and the FBI was implemented in Malcolm's assassination. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on the Lawyer Henderson Show. Also, like, share, and subscribe. It's going to be a very short, brief YouTube video. Don't forget also that we are getting reports about Tiger Woods being in a serious car accident. He was in a major crash. And so hopefully he will hopefully he's okay. We're basically learning that as well as we come in for our video essay or live here. Okay, so Tiger Woods is suffering some pain from his legs and had to be pulled out of a car of a major crash. So we're still looking to see if Tiger Woods is okay. Uh, Go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, family. Of course, like I said today, it's kind of plain because we're not doing any phone systems. No calls tonight because our phone system is down, according to the website, the company who runs our telephone lines. They're telling me this as I was trying to come on. Now, it just so happens when I'm talking about one of our greatest icons at all kinds in the human rights. I don't like to say civil rights, human rights era. White people like to say civil rights. They keep on putting that civil rights crap. But human rights era was Malcolm X. Thumbs up, like and subscribe. You can only chat with me live in the chat room if you want to leave any comments. Like I said, we're not taking no phone calls today, so I won't be saying the number. But let's go ahead and get into it, family. So we know that the government has always been behind major crimes. A lot of people, of course, in the black community believe that police officers in government do not commit crimes. That is a major error. The government engage in crimes just like any other person. In fact, they engage in more crimes, roll over. And we have to understand that. We have to be able to understand that. We've got a lot of black people here just so naive that they don't believe that government engage in crimes. The government is your biggest crime starters. They're the ones who basically go out and, and get behind criminal activity. They're the ones who does that. And so when we look at the crimes that the FBI and NYPD, Chicago police, all of these police government agencies are criminals. They're thugs with badges. You understand? So the government basically engages in crimes, but it basically will not arrest itself. You have a lot of dirty white men out here who talks there about following the law, and they don't follow the law. That's the reason why it's very much simple. Here's some black people talking about, well, we should follow the law. No, white supremacists don't follow the law. Okay. So we're going to be taking an article by the Atlanta Black Star. We're going to be reading the Atlanta Black Star tonight. Articles is talking about orchestrated by the government. Ex NYPD officer admits in deathbed confession that NYPD and the FBI were involved in Malcolm X death. Okay. Now we basically grown up to think that three Muslim guys who are all we later now finding to be innocent. You had black people jumping to conclusion. Oh, I knew that the Nation of Islam was involved. I knew that they were behind Malcolm's death. I just knew it. Listening to everything that the white media says. And you had that interview that Farrakhan did with Mike Wallace, where they tried to basically continue to say that the FBI, or insinuate that there was not the FBI, but it was the Nation of Islam. Okay, maybe the words that Farrakhan spoke, maybe that basically gave some ammunition to it, but it was not Farrakhan nor no Muslims that pulled the trigger. And this is coming out now at the time that this NYPD officer has died a year ago. I think he died in 2020. So what we're looking at now is we're seeing all of the truth about how corrupt the government was back in the 1960s, and they're still corrupt today. It never ends with the cops shooting and killing people like Breonna Taylor and allowing crooks and criminals like these clowns who shot Ahmaud Arbery to go free, to basically try to escape justice. They basically trying to also, like George Zimmerman, to go free, and to also look at these crooked cops that killed our sister Breonna Taylor. You see that this government basically does not follow their own laws. That's the reason why we basically talk about in the black community this system is illegitimate. And why do we basically talk about an illegitimate system? Because an illegitimate system does not get respect by true people in a society. An illegitimate system basically suggests that this is a system of oppression, corruption, abuse, and also discrimination and other things. But the Atlanta Black Star wrote a great article and a piece here, and I'm going to read it here. The family of Malcolm X have made public a letter attributed to a now deceased former New York Police Department officer, in which the ex-cop claimed that the police department and the FBI were behind the 1965 assassination of the Black liberation icons. This is the way that you don't create a Black Messiah. This is they're basically we're not going to basically have to deal with another Dr. King or another Malcolm X. We don't want that to happen. That's what the FBI and J. Edgar Hoover's intentions was. The letter was released February 20th, the day before the 56th anniversary of Malcolm X's death. His family is calling for the investigation into his murder to be reopened in light of the new evidence. Now, this is new evidence coming directly from a former cop who's now deceased. Any evidence that provides greater insight into the truth behind that terrible tragedy should be thoroughly investigated. Malcolm X's daughter, I forget how to pronounce her name, but it's the Iiyasaah Shabazz, said as a news conference unveiling the letter on Saturday. The Muslim minister was killed on February 21st, 1965, which addresses his organization of Afro-American unity at the Audubon Ballroom. Okay. Hold on. The Audubon Ballroom in the Washington Heights neighborhoods on New York, Manhattan Borough. 3 members of the Nation of Islam were convicted in his murder. Okay, but in the letter, the former undercover officer Raymond Wood originally wrote in a 2011 in which not to be made public until after his death. The ex-NYPD cop implicated the police department in Malcolm X's death. The letter was delivered to Malcolm X's daughter on Saturday by Reginald Wood Jr., the cousin of the deceased former officer and the administrator of his estate. It was on Saturday that Mr. Reginald Wood, a Hillsborough County native, went to the New York to deliver a deathbed, dying declaration letter to the daughter of Malcolm X, the civil rights icon that was assassinated 56 years ago. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump told the Atlanta Black Star on Monday. Raymond Wood died last November. Okay. Crump said that Raymond Wood was an undercover officer who was used by the NYPD to infiltrate and discredit black leaders and civil rights organizations in 1960s and 1970s. And this deathbed dying confession, he implicates that the NYPD and the FBI conspired to assassinate Malcolm X, Crump said, adding that the letter indicates Malcolm's death was orchestrated by the government. Wood, a black man, was an undercover police officer with the NYPD between 1964 and 1971, wrote in the letter that he participated in the actions that in sight were deplorable and detrimental to my own black people. He added that the actions were committed under duress and fear that he would face major consequences if he didn't comply with his handlers. Wood revealed that he was presumed by his supervisors and in the department to get members of Malcolm X security detail to commit crimes that would result in their arrest by the FBI, so they would be unable to manage the active store security at the Audubon Ballroom the day of the assassination. You see, look at what they're doing. Under the direction of my handlers, I was told to encourage leaders and members of the civil rights group to commit felonious acts, Wood letters stated. The Statue of Liberty bombing plot was Wood's supervisor's ideal, he said. The plot was publicized on February 16, days before Malcolm's murder. Walter Bowie and Khalid Saveh, 2 key members of the orator's securities detail, was arrested. At that time, I was not aware Malcolm X was the target, Wood wrote. Okay, so they see that when they show his letter that he written on January 25th, 2011, and he said that he was a black police officer. The letter got a lot of details about his job and about that there was some evidence that that he witnessed that they were planning to kill Malcolm, and that the NYPD was behind it. It goes on to say here that it's explosive. Reginald Wood told the Atlanta Black Star about the letter. He said that he was forced to betray his own people. He tried to get out, and they tried to pin drug trafficking and alcohol trafficking charges on him. So therefore, by being former military, he knew that if he didn't follow the orders, it would be the same as a court martial. So it was self-preservation at that point. Reginald Wood, the administrator of his cousin estate, authored a book about his brother's ordeal in relation to his undercover work with the NYPD entitled The Ray Wood Story. It is amazing that people will know Ray's story, he said, and hopefully they will emphasize what he had to go through and the sorrow that he had and the guilt and the remorse that he had from this whole situation. Okay. So the letter basically detailing that these guys that basically was the security detail was actually the persons who got arrested by the FBI on another scandal that they basically put together so that they can then arrest the security detail of Malcolm, you see. And that's exactly what the government does. It basically infiltrate your organization. Okay. Manjahi Abdullah Halim, also known as Thomas Hagen, Muhammad Abdul Isaiah, also known as Norman 3X Butler, and Khalid Aslam, also known as Thomas Johnson, were convicted of the death of Malcolm X in 1966 and sentenced to life in prison. Islam died in 2009. IZ, AZIZ, was paroled in 1985, and Hyland was released in April 2010. So those three guys who basically was actually the ones who was protecting Malcolm got accused of his assassination. It goes on to say, though, that in a statement, the NYPD said last year after the Manhattan District Attorney's Office reopened an investigation into the assassination that it had provided all available records relevant to the case to the district attorney and remains committed to assist with that review in any way. The FBI had not commented on the matter. Of course they're not. Everything that they do, they are basically will not comment on facts. I mean, back in the 1960s, if you look at it, J. Edgar Hoover, he was everywhere and trying to bring down black people, black leaders, and he was focused on these organizations that basically was really getting all of this, uh, press and support from black folks in the community. It was basically him, instead of fighting real crime, he would basically is only fighting black people. And that was the dangerous about the FBI at that time. Um, the FBI basically, like I said, has not done uh, a true investigation on missing black children and missing black people. You understand? And they're behind closed doors, knowing about the underground, um, killings of organs and stuff like that. So we know that the FBI is behind a lot of the things that basically these police officers do on a daily to day basis because they're all on code. This is white supremacy on code. And that's the reason why their laws does not mean nothing on paper. Their rules of law does not mean anything on paper because they're not going to enforce it. They're going to enforce certain types of things to make it appear that they basically are fair. But when it comes to basically bringing down some more white supremacists, they basically are not going to do a lot. Just like this Capitol riot, you see how they basically would try to pretend like they didn't have any suspects in the case. They were like, "Well, we need your help," and then so me and Tariq and others, we started to identify the people that basically that you need our help with. We start giving you names, you know. So in the rest of the black media, we made it clear about who was involved in that riot. Mhm. So don't start talking and pretending like you don't know who they were. And long before and behold that we started to do that, they start going after black people. Family, they have I want to say this happened in Indiana. Hold on, let me look this up. They had arrested 4 black folks talking about that they committed insurance fraud. So notice that no, this happened. No, it's not happening in Atlanta. White people get arrested. They're going to start going to groups of black people in certain areas. That's what they do. Okay, they just basically do not want people to think that only white people are committing all these crimes, in which they create the most crimes. So what they'll do is they'll find some black person or find some black people and they start trying to change the narrative so they can just find some black person who made a mistake or made mistakes, and then they'll start going after them so that the white media and the white supremacists who run these agencies could undermine the fact that these white people are basically getting away with all kinds of murder and all kinds of corruption. Okay. This was not the first time that the government, of course, have been accused of being engaged in an assassination of a black icon. Okay, as you know, Dr. King family recently has settled in 1999 against the government. They won. The government was found guilty of plotting and planning Dr. King's death, and they lied on James Earl Ray. Remember, white people always go after you. Anytime that they come show up with a poor white suspect, you know that there's a problem with the case. And that's what they like to do. They like to go out and find a poor white person who basically has nothing he has nothing, he wasn't, he basically was down in society. He lost everything. He might stay in a trailer park, or he basically is homeless and stuff like that. So what they'll do is they'll find somebody like that, and they will basically accuse that white person of being the person who did it. They don't go after these real savvy white people, these white CEOs of major companies, and these nerds like Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci, who basically is creating actually germ warfare to kill all black folks. You see, they don't go after those people because those people are doing something that white supremacy supports, and that is to basically try to destroy folks. You see, but yeah, the FBI, they will go after these poor white people, and they'll try to name them as the conspirators. I mean, as the person who perpetrated these crimes. Like I said, anytime a white person say, "Oh, we got the suspect," and you look at the suspect, and the suspect look like a poor white person coming from the bridge somewhere, there's a problem. There's a huge problem with that. And that's what they were doing mostly in the 60s. Like I said, they accused James Earl Ray. He didn't really have anything going for him. Lee Avi Halls, Oswald, all these people, they didn't really have anything going for them. So what the FBI would do, along with the police, they will basically go out and get your poor white men and start trying to basically accuse them of crimes so that the real perpetrators can get off. You see, and that's exactly what is going on here, and did go on. And so J. Edgar Hoover basically he declared war not only on Dr. King and Malcolm X, but remember we just did the commentary on our brother Fred Hampton, who was also shot by the FBI only at the age of 21. So we have a lot of this stuff uncovering. You see, the government can no longer. They're going to just start shooting people dead, so that there will not be nobody who is going to survive and tell us the information 10, 15, 20 years later. That's the reason why they shoot and kill now, because the FBI they get away. They used to basically keep a lot of things closed, and they keep everything secretive so that you don't know about it until about 20 years later, you see. So basically, I'm glad that this former cop, even though that he was basically, he could have got out of it. I mean, he probably would have been found dead somewhere. So I understand what he basically did. But at the same time, you know what I'm saying, they just basically butt broke this guy too. Okay. Anytime you basically work in the in the NYPD, there's a such thing as resigning too. I mean, you just basically say, "Hey, I no longer want to be a part of the NYPD," and you resign. There's other, these black officers talking about all this stuff about, oh, I had to go along with it and all this. No, there's a such thing as you resigning. Okay. Don't try to make people feel sorry for you now. You had the option to resign. You understand? So we're learning about this, and we've already learned about and established that James Earl Ray did not shoot and kill Dr. King. We're learning about the three Muslim brothers now who did not kill Malcolm X. All of this stuff is coming out and is basically, we're finding out the truth. And it's us and the new voices of black media. We are the ones that's pressuring the truth out of the white supremacists. We're the ones that basically is holding government accountable. You see, the white media talk about all of this. Their description of holding the government accountable is based up on talking about what Trump is doing or didn't do or what Biden is not doing and all that. That's not holding government accountable. Okay. They're not talking about, oh, well, he didn't reveal his tax returns. Oh, we holding government accountable. No, that's not holding accountable. You're doing that because you have a white Jewish system that basically has set up the IRS, and you want them to basically, make sure that people are paying their taxes. That's not holding government accountable. But what is really holding government accountable is that these police officers and all of these people in law enforcement start going to prison. They start going to jail, getting prison time. That's what needs to happen. They need to start going to jail. That's when we can start talking about them being held accountable. As long as you basically are able to, um, you know, what you call it, you're able to pardon somebody as the president, then there's a problem, okay? Because a lot of these high crimes and misdemeanors that these white men do, they do a lot of stuff. It's just like the LGBT community. They go out there talking about what black men is doing, and as soon as a white man do the same thing with a black female, oh, they're nowhere. They're gone. They disappear. You see, refusing to hold the white man accountable for his actions. And so, therefore, we have a system like that. You have a lot of black people. Oh, they'll be talking bad about white daddy out here. Okay, so white daddy don't basically he should be held accountable. Okay, and I criticize Tariq Nasheed and others a lot, but I like the fact that he basically understand as a commentary, and I understand the same thing, that we have to hold government accountable. We have to hold the white supremacists accountable. We have to hold white men accountable. You see, white men think they're untouchable. And so we as black men, we have to stop being cowards. You see, you got other black men, they're working with the white supremacists to maintain the system. That's our problem. Black men basically are out here. Um, Family, there was you see that picture online where the Africans in Nigeria, I think it's Ghana, Nigeria, one of those African countries where they're holding this Asian, this Chinese man up, and he is their Messiah. He is basically acting as a representative. Folks, this is the same thing that the European has done to our people in other parts of the country. Now you got a Chinese and Asian man up there that you holding up, and you're calling him the Messiah. This is the real slave syndrome that black people still suffer in this country. You're looking to somebody who is not only white, but you're looking at somebody who is slightly less white. And as Dr. Umar Johnson pointed out, just imagine them being in control. I mean, you can barely negotiate with them some duck sauce. You know what I'm saying? You're like, man, can I get some duck sauce, man, with this Chinese rice? No, 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 that's all you get. That's all you get. Like, damn. I mean, just basically just imagining picturing them being in control and running this society. Boy, you understand? there will be no talk about no black woman out here talking about that they're an independent woman. Because them Chinese people will make sure that you only get just enough and that's it. And they probably won't even give you that. You see? And all this stuff about black men and women, we out here attacking Asians and all this, cut that out. You see, the white supremacists, see, they basically have the Asians as their buffer class because their numbers are dwindling. So what they have to do is they have to now prop up their buffer class against us. And so we're in this war here. And so you have to understand what the white supremacists are doing. Now, they're going to come out with all of this evidence about the FBI being a part of Malcolm's assassination. And they're going to say, well, so what? Those guys who basically is accused of it, well, they're dead. That's all they're going to say. Because they're going to try to take a long, if they even reopen up the case, it's going to take a long time. And then the case is just going to stay open and open until everybody get old and get ready to die. And that's all it's going to do. That's all it's going to be, you see. So we're now coming out to understand, though, that Malcolm X basically, with the orchestration of the FBI and the NYPD, we seem, like I said, to rehash in 1998 that Dr. King's family won a lawsuit against the U.S. government for the government role in Dr. King's death, Dr. King assassination, found the U.S. government guilty of all charges. And the charges against them as well with the death of Malcolm X, we, the jury, is going to find the U.S. government again guilty of conspiracy, guilty of murder, guilty of plotting, planning, guilty. And so therefore, we know that they have been implemented in other people's, black people's assassination. When during the time that Malcolm, of course, was alive, there was people in Africa where he was basically visiting who also was assassinated, you see. So when we talk there about how the this white supremacist system is global, and black people talking about, well, we just should go ahead and leave the country. No, you're not going to escape anything. Everywhere you go, white supremacy is there. Oh, white supremacy is global. We keep telling you. You understand? So we know that the Mayo Clinic, they're out here basically, their numbers are dwindling, and that they're going to be a minority by 2043 or 2040. And now what they're trying to do now is they're trying to basically prop up the Asians because they know that Asians have a lot of populations. They have almost more, I think, almost right at the neck of Africans. So they know that as putting them as the majority, then they would have this buffer class that's going to watch out for them. And so therefore, all of them to undermine black people. You got the Hispanics that they was trying to prop up as well. And the Hispanics going out there line talking about they voted for Biden and said that we were the one that basically got the numbers for Biden. No. Black people in Georgia got Biden in the White House. Black people in Georgia got the Democrats the seat in the House and the Senate. So what we look and see is that we have been doing a lot of things for the white supremacists, and behind closed doors, all they've been doing was trying to destroy us even more. But we're going to continue to follow up on this case. We investigating this, more of this evidence coming out about Malcolm X, his three daughters, basically finally revealing along with Ben Crump out there. Ben Crump, basically, a lot of people criticize Ben Crump, but this one right here, I'm going to give Ben Crump a kind of because Ben Crump has been doing stuff that was suspect, but Ben Crump also, you have to understand, he is a civil rights attorney. So if he's going to get that check to you, fine. But what we're saying in the black community is that we just don't want the white supremacists out there shooting, and then they use Ben Crump to get this easy payout. But when it comes to things like this, in which this happened way before Ben Crump became a attorney. Now this is good, along with also with the farming. He basically had their back. So there are some things that Ben Crump is doing that is good. Okay, now there are some things that he did question. But when you, as a black man or black woman, do something that's good, I'm going to call it out. Okay, so we're going to give Ben Crump a little, we're going to basically be easy on Ben Crump at this point because he is now basically learning that not only do you get the cases that is happening to us now, you also have to go back and Johnny Cochran your way for the older cases that we got out there. And of course, Ben Crump himself has to be careful as well, because you don't want to become too radical. Because black people say that they want a revolutionary attorney, but how many of us are going to basically support people who are out there, the attorneys doing the work? And that's very important. And that's what the black media, other black medias have not called out as well. But here, with the Lawyer Henderson show, you're going to get all kinds of things uh, told to you in a different perspective. So our brother Ben Crump, he is learning, and so that's the reason why I don't criticize him a lot because he is learning, and but you don't basically want him out there too much, because if you do, then basically they're going to think that, what I'm saying, he becoming too revolutionary. So I know how he have to take these moves here. I understand that. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is today's Lawyer Henderson podcast show. We should, on Sunday when we return, we should have our telephone system back up and running. Blog Talk Radio said that their maintenance was down. So sorry about that. I knew that some people wanted to call in and talk with us about this situation. But all right, leave your comments. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Lawyer Henderson Show is out. Thanks for listening.